As a child, I never thought I'd see the day come to pass where communism started to be installed in the United States of America and forced upon us by those in the White House and in U.S. government. But that day has come to pass. It's already happened. They're in the process of making the United States of America a communist nation. It was just announced that the White House is working with Facebook. They're helping them track and monitor the spread of disinformation. What is disinformation? What is tracking and monitoring it? What does that mean, Jen? Are you following us? Are you putting us on lists? Do you plan on retaliating somehow against people that don't align with certain things that you want us to say? And if we say the wrong thing, then what? What's going to happen? Are we going to be punished? I'd like to know. I do know this. I made a video a few months ago and I said something about something that's been affecting us all for the past year. Something totally reasonable to discuss. I said something along the lines of, if we have a jab that works for the Kung flu, why do we still have to wear facial coverings? And I was sent a note by the platform I posted it on. Say that again and you're done. You're off. We'll kick you off forever. And then I was suspended. That's called censorship. That's called them taking my freedom of speech. And when I said something about it, everyone said, well, they're a private company. They can do it. And I said, no, they're not. They're quite literally, if you open your eyes and look around, the definition of a public space. And they're working with the United States government. It was obvious to me. I could see the pattern. If you said anything that didn't align with the narrative coming out of the White House and the radical left regime, you were shut down. That content was destroyed, stripped, erased. And you were deplatformed, banned, put in cyber jail, whatever you want to call it. But I was onto it a long time ago. And people called me crazy, a conspiracy theorist, a racist Republican, because that's the answer now to everything. Turns out I was right. I say that with a heavy heart. I didn't want to be right about that. But I also, when I said it, knew that I was right. Because if I didn't know that, I wouldn't have said it. But obvious is obvious. And I think as Americans, we need to learn how to state the obvious, even if it's dangerous for us. Our founding fathers didn't care if they said things that irritated and pissed off the British. In fact, they did it intentionally. They did and said specific things that they knew they would be hung for, because they knew that they were an endeavor to earn their independence, to fight for it, and they were ready to do it. I'm ready to do the same, because I see our Constitution being taken from us. I see our civil liberties being destroyed, run over, taken away by private corporations that work with the government, making them not private corporations. So that argument is dead, just like it was a year ago. They've just made my job a little bit easier because, again, I'm suing them for this exact reason. They're taking away our constitutional rights. Oh, and by the way, when they shut down something like your business page on a social media platform that you've paid for, like boosting posts, target marketing, paying to have collateral developed, and they don't like something that you did, or maybe it was just an accident, whatever the case may be, when it's taken down and you don't get what you paid for, that's not okay. They have a responsibility, but they don't care. So now that it's been announced that they're aligned with the United States government, they're no longer private. They're a public utility. They need to be regulated. Our First Amendment dictates that Congress shall make no law. And then it goes on to talk about no law infringing upon our First Amendment rights like free speech, freedom to practice the religion we so choose, freedom of the press, and the freedom to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of our grievances. those rights are gone. We can't petition the government and assemble at the nation's capital because there's a fence around it. We can't speak our piece because they control what we say. One word they don't like, they take down your post. They deplatform you. No one hears from you. They shadow ban you. They play with your numbers. I, at one point, had 319,000 subscribers. In 2 days, that dropped to 67. Not 67,000, just 67. And the way I see it, whether they've deplatformed a private U.S. citizen who you've never heard of or a sitting president, both are equally dangerous and both are equally in direct violation of the United States Constitution. One of the first things that needs to be done to install communism is to change history. Now, you can't really change history. The only thing you can change is the way that it's taught, the way our youth perceive it. And that's exactly what's going on today. Critical race theory is being pushed on our kids. They're being told if you're white, you're bad. If you're white, your ancestors had slaves. Therefore, you need to repent for the sins of your ancestors. That's the most ridiculous argument that I've ever heard. We don't blame young Japanese children for Pearl Harbor. We don't blame young German kids for the Holocaust. We don't blame young Muslims in this country for 9/11. Why are we blaming young white kids for slavery? And I'll have you know that no matter what gender, creed, race, color, walk of life, or continent your ancestors hailed from, there has been, in your lineage and history, some form of slave trade, usage, or labor, no matter who you are. Blacks sold blacks to the white man. The white man brought them to the continental United States. Before it was even the United States, they brought them here long before that. But remember, it was blacks that sold blacks to the white man. Just like today, we have someone named Kamala Harris. She's our vice president, if you don't know. I know she doesn't act like one, so it's really hard to tell. But she does things like say, racism is really prevalent. And it's one of the biggest threats to national security. And then she goes and makes remarks comparing what happened on a bridge when blacks were fighting for their rights and they were beaten senselessly to the actions that a bunch of Democrats took when they boarded a private plane, a luxurious plane, no facial coverings, cases of beer, and they did it on your dime. They did it saying they were flying to Washington to end the filibuster. That can't possibly be true. The filibuster protects them in a state like Texas. The filibuster protects the minority vote in a state like Texas. Why would they want to do away with that? They don't. What they want to do is create a stink. They want to get on TV and have another opportunity to say that the House bill number 7 that they're trying to pass in Texas is racist when it's not. I've read the bill, watched my previous video. There's nothing racist about it. The only thing racist about what's going on is the people that are saying that it's racist are the racists themselves. Now, if you don't believe me when I tell you that blacks sold blacks to the white man, look it up, read a book. It's true. Fact check me if you'd like. The correlation that I'm drawing is that we have a black female vice president who's doing essentially the same thing. She's not selling slaves, I'm not saying that. She's perpetuating racism under false pretenses. She'd like you to believe something's going on that's not. She's one of the people that wants to eliminate the way your children and mine perceive history and are taught it. She's all for critical race theory. She doesn't care about people. If she did, she would have gone down to the border the second day, the day after she was asked to by her president. But she didn't. She waited so long. In fact, she waited until President Trump said he was going to go. And I believe the only reason she actually went was to beat him there. It wouldn't have looked so good if he made it down there before she did, now would it have? So think about what's going on and listen to the words that I say. Because I have one singular goal in this. And that's to save your freedom. Whether you're Republican, Democrat, liberal, or whatever. I don't really care. What I care about is that I go to bed at night with 100% certainty that my children and yours, again, no matter who you are, will grow up in the America that I grew up in, a free one. One where the Constitution is not questioned, where it's followed to the T. So, we've got a few really awesome things coming out of Real Republican News. Number one, we're going to start making kids' books. They'll be digital. You'll be able to download them. And we're going to teach your kids in very basic English how this nation earned its independence, what led up to it, what certain things mean. There's a word, it's called introspection. It's what a good person might do at night. Before you go to bed, you might ask yourself, what did I do wrong today, and how can I make myself better tomorrow? That's what we do as a nation. We look within. That's why Abraham Lincoln wrote a document called the Emancipation Proclamation. Introspection. We realized that slavery was bad, unacceptable, terrible. And we ended it. Mind you, it was the Republican Party that did. During the Civil Rights Movement, it was the Democrats that fought tooth and nail against it. In fact, Joe Biden didn't want your kids going to school with black kids. He was against it. Fact check that too. You can't change the truth. You can only lie about it and say that it's not true. That doesn't make it any less true. So, to my audience, the 319,000 of you that I know are still there, I will remain committed, just like I remained committed on day one, to telling the truth, bringing you the facts, no matter what the consequences may be. And I'll tell you this, it's starting to get weird for me. Take that for what it's worth. But the powers that be don't like what I'm doing. And I don't care, because I'm going to keep doing it, no matter what the financial, physical, personal, or interpersonal expense may be. Because there's no more important undertaking and endeavor than the preservation of the Constitution, your God-given right to pursue life, liberty, and happiness, and American freedom. Liberty's fragile, we must protect it. So until next time, God bless you, your families, the Constitution, and God bless America. What's left of it anyway? Be well, everyone.